Everyone, please welcome Santy.
So we know mentorship is a good thing, but what is it really? What does it look like and how should it work? Okay, so first I want to talk with you a little bit about what mentorship is not. And because I have this kind of nerdy component to me, which I am very proud of, I'm going to present it to you like a taxonomy. That's just a cool word to use whenever you can. Okay, so I want to review a few common professional and personal roles we all have experience with. Okay, the first, role model. This is someone who gives you inspiration. It's someone who gives, I like to say it's an outline to your ambition. You can look at this person and say, oh, I didn't know I could be that. I didn't know I could do that. I see it, and that person's my role model, not a mentor. A supporter, believes in you, shows up for you, is there. I launched 2 new businesses in the past 6 months, and I've had 2 awesome launch parties, and there's a number of you here, Jackie, Kyle, Jess, Mel, who've been at all of those parties. Those are my supporters. I'm there for them. They're here for me. I love them. Not a mentor. Sounding board. Someone to whom you may complain and blow off steam. A good listener. Not a mentor. A manager or boss. They oversee your work, your position, and sometimes simply by virtue of them being in your workplace and one step higher than you, we as women tend to think of them as mentors. Not a mentor. So as women, I bring this up because we have a lot of these relationships in our lives. And we mistakenly often refer to those roles as mentors. And I tell you, that does us a disservice. These are not mentors. And we shouldn't conflate these things with mentorship. Real mentorship, I believe, is defined by one key variable. Something I'm going to talk about in great detail in one moment, and that is reciprocity. I'm going to say it to this side of the room now. Reciprocity. Okay. Reciprocity is the one thing that truly defines a successful mentoring relationship. And tellingly, men are 46% more likely to have a mentoring relationship that makes reciprocity its central feature than women. So not only may men kind of have this mentorship thing more available to them, they're kind of doing it in this strategic way much more than women are. That has to stop. We need to do it in this strategic way. Therefore, as women, we not only have a greater need for mentorship, we are also more likely to misinvest our time in relationships we think are mentoring relationships, but they're really not. So we're not likely to make reciprocity as women this central feature. So let me talk to you about what that reciprocity is, and then I want to share with you some ways to kind of go about fostering a mentoring relationship, either as a mentor or as a mentee, with reciprocity at the center. Okay, first we need to get away from conceptions of what a mentor should do for us. We tend to think, if I have a mentor, I'll get all this stuff. I'll get advice, introductions, a clear path to professional success. It will be revealed to me and I'll know what to do, right? We tend to have all those expectations. And we've built that culture of expectation around mentorship. One in which the mentor gives freely of herself and the mentee is like a passive recipient of these gifts. Well, this is a one-way relationship flow, and it's not good for anybody. Things don't really work that way. I mean, you all are hardworking, kick-ass women. Has there been any time where you're like, send it to me, give it to me, and expect that to really happen? It doesn't work that way. And don't start now, because you're hard workers, yeah. So expecting women to give selflessly of their time, their gifts, their experience and knowledge only furthers what I think is a really unfortunate social expectation of women. So I don't want any of us perpetuating that of another woman. Like, just give me stuff, give of yourself to me. Instead, let's think of it more strategically. And by the way, isn't that what motherhood is? So we got that, right? We got that portion in our lives. We don't need to do that. And I think there's such an interesting way in how we value men and women's time differently. When I was a professor, my office was here, and like the sage, old, wise dude professor's office was here. And we had office hours at the same time. And I would have a line kind of out my door of students who wanted to talk with me, who hadn't made an appointment, they just showed up expecting I would, be there to talk with them. He always had like one or two students who had made an appointment well in advance, were very respectful of his time, and there's just a different social expectation of my availability and willingness to be there for students. I enjoyed it a lot, but I often thought that was such a weird contrast. So let's treat women's time more like dudes' time in some ways. So I want all of us to think of mentorship as a two-way relationship flow instead of that one way. So it should be that reciprocity that's a two-way flow. In other words, how can we make our mentorship more of an investment in each other? Like, I invest in you, you invest in me, let's all get something out of this. So yeah, this may sound a bit transactional, but I think it should. I think it should be transactional. If you want a strong mentorship relationship, you have to ask, not only what can my mentor do for me, but what can I do for my mentor? Give a little, get a little. Another way to look at this, and this is the way I love to look at it, is you and your mentor, or you and your mentee are an extension of each other's brand. And that's really how I think about it. If I have a mentee, she is my brand walking around. And she should use my brand to help get her places. I'm doing her a disservice if my brand doesn't open doors for her, if it doesn't help her forge new connections and relationships. But I want to know how she's using that capital, and I want to make sure she's using that resource in a really smart way. And I want to know that she's adding something to my brand by walking around with it on her in some way, that she's growing it, she's kind of burnishing my brand. So it could be bad for both of us, it could be great for both of us, and I really encourage all of you to think about how could this be great for me and that other person in my mentor-mentee relationship. And I want to give you one example. So my friend Jess is here. And as I said, Jess is one of my supporters and a dear friend. She's also one of our badass broads who writes for the Broadview Denver. She's on our editorial board. And she writes the really incredible articles on women in entrepreneurship. Check out everything she posts. I am constantly learning from her, including how to have a free day each week, which blew my effing mind, I have to say, when I first read it. But it's so smart. So Jess is great. Jess and I have been friends for a long time. And she came to me in a meeting and said, hey, I know you know this woman. I really would like to meet her. I'm interested. Maybe she could be my mentor. But what's really great about Jess is she said, this is how I think she could help me. This is what I know she has to offer, but this is what I think I could offer her. And Jess was so mindful of it and overt in identifying that thing. And the woman who Jess was thinking of for her mentor is really successful, has a national reputation, just stepping into politics, so really, really busy, but Jess really thought about what can I bring to this woman. They have been kind of mentor-mentee for a year now. I think a really great relationship where they've opened incredible doors for each other and really exposed each other to new networks. But I really believe that's thanks to Jess recognizing that she could get something valuable from this woman, but this woman's time was really valuable. And what could Jess then bring? And Jess is, raise your hand, Jess, because
we're all talking about you.
Yeah, we're all talking about you. She's right here. And Jess is a really successful woman in her own right, and maybe you can answer a few questions at the end if anyone wants to ask Jess a little more about the specifics of how that works. So how can you all start doing this? I just want to end with like 5 little quick bits of advice. Okay. You think that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. One is do a little self-assess. Ask yourself, what do you need and what do you want? Because it might not be a mentor right now. It might be you really need a sounding board, or you just really need a friend. So ask yourself that and be honest with the answer. Are you at the right place to make good on your half of that relationship? Now, I don't want you to think, oh, now I have to be a pro at business development and bring my mentor a bunch of new clients. You don't have to do that, but are there ways you can expose your mentor to new networks? Are there ways that you can help him or her in some aspect of his or her professional life? Get creative about that. Then I want you to do an external assessment. Who do you know in your life that could be a mentor? Can you promote someone from the role of sounding board to mentor? Maybe that's an option. Can you ask someone to broker an introduction? So I don't believe in cold calls for mentoring, or a cold email. Really work your network and figure out how you can get introduced. Just as Jess talked to me and said, hey, I know you know this person, can you help me with that introduction? Also use formal mentoring programs. The Commons has a mentoring program it's developing with Women on the Rise. The Women's Leadership Foundation, which is committed to getting women on corporate boards, has a nice mentoring program. So use the resources around you. Once you have that mentoring relationship, here's 3 quick tips on how to really make it work from the standpoint of reciprocity. 1, communicate. Be proactive about this. As I mentioned earlier, you're my brand walking around, or you're the brand of someone else walking around. So how can you kind of check in? I want to make sure you're okay. If you're ever in trouble, I want to step in like 3 steps before trouble happens to help you out. So communicate regularly with your mentor. Give. Think about what is needed without being asked. Don't simply ask the question, how can I help? Come with some ideas. Similarly, have some answers prepared for how can I help you when your mentor asks you that question. Go above and beyond and get creative. If you can't, bring new clients to the table, how could you nominate your mentor for an award? How can you expose her to a new group of people? In other words, actively think about how can I advance my mentor's brand, and in doing so, it's advancing my brand. And then be sure to link your mentor to your successes. Remember kind of how you got somewhere and be very gracious about that. Okay, finally, I think small gestures are really important. Say thank you. Express gratitude, send a little note. I have a mentee who's now in Australia doing incredible work, but she knew when I was launching the Broadview Denver, things were really busy for me. She called a meal service and had dinner sent to me one night. So it's just a thoughtful, nice gesture. And be empathetic. Everyone's busy, and I hate the busy game. I'm not busier than you. You're not busier than me. It's just friggin' table stakes to be busy. So let's take that off the table. Everybody's busy. We get it. How can you be kind about that? Be flexible, but also don't be flaky. Okay, so in conclusion, mentorship, if done right, is incredibly rewarding. It will bring you reward in professional advancement, growing your business, and feeling more satisfied in your business. And I can identify the haves and have-nots of the mentorship world among women so easily. Because the women who have good mentors and mentorships that have this reciprocity are light years ahead of those who don't. So I hope this is a little bit helpful in kind of framing this, and go forward and find that mentor. I have a mentor. I'll never let her go. I feel we're very tied to each other and a great extension of each other's brand. Find your mentor, develop more than one, and onward. I wish you good luck with that. And let me know how I can help, and how I can help introduce you to people as well.